tell me that it's evolution.
Welcome to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, a nature-led gardener and a person seeking heart-centered economics. So, okay, the U.S. military budget already exceeds $900 billion, or about 5 times as much as we spend on domestic food and nutrition assistance programs. The SNAP program helps about 42 million Americans, and under Trump's big, ugly bill, about 3 million people will lose benefits, and the average monthly benefit will be cut about $150 a month per person. Well, we're going to spend more money on bombs. I mean, it's so discouraging in so many ways. But last weekend, I was at an event that was all about raw people power. I went to my DFL District 52, and there I saw a fellow DFLer from Senate District 52, and also a fellow AM 950 radio host. Philip Anthony with the Downright Upright Show joins me now, and we're going to talk about heart-centered economics. Welcome to Food Freedom Radio.
Oh, I am so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you.
This is my first time on your show.
I know it is the first time on my show. And one of the things, like when I listen to your show and your promos, they just make me feel good.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. And your show is so informative. I mean, I always recommend it. Remember we were doing those live shows at Pride?
Yeah.
And you would always come over and I'd always say, you have to listen to Food Freedom Radio. It's essential. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and because, there is so much about our systems that we need to lift up a different system. And that's when I was thinking about, okay, what should we talk about? And I want to talk about our gardens, and I want to do a download of all the stuff going on in the global food system, everything from fertilizers on the Strait of Hormuz and how that might affect our global food system, to Trump's cutting USDA aid and how that is literally going to lead to hundreds of thousands of children dying.
Yeah, Scott Besson called it the Strait of Vermouth. Did you hear that? That's the new viral video going around online. The Strait of Vermouth.
Is that an alcohol or is that something else? I'm confused right now. I don't know what vermouth means.
An aperitif, I think, or a cordial, maybe you would use.
Yeah. Okay, so we were both at the Senate District 52, and I've been active in DFL politics most of my life, but this one felt really good to me. It really did. There was something about that feeling. So how did you feel?
It was amazing. Did you hear that there were more people at this one than there have been in years? People are energized. They really want to come out and support the community. And we had Bianca Vernig, who ran unopposed because she's amazing.
She is. And now one of the things I found great about the way she talked is she said, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. And I was like, I kind of like that.
Yes. You want your leaders to show emotion, because if they're too stoic and too hard-nosed, it's not good either. And then there was what's her name? Oh, Liz Ryer. Yes, she's running for Senate because Senator Carlson is retiring this year.
And that was a very emotional moment.
Oh my
too.
God! Standing ovation for how long?
Yeah, it was really beautiful. Now, Senator Jim Carlson's been there for a long time, and he's been battling cancer, and he is a wonderful leader, and just again somebody who's just working really hard at trying to make the world a better place.
Oh yeah, and can I just share a really quick story about Jim Carlson for your listeners? So I had him on my show at the inception. It was like the first year I was doing it. And he shared an anecdote with me that it almost made me cry. When they were voting for marriage equality, they have buttons, they push yes, no, whatever, And he waited till it was a tie vote to push the button to put it over the top, so that marriage equality would pass. And I still have the chills when I hear that. That's an empath for you. Somebody who really cares about people, the community. So,
and what has marriage equality meant for you personally?
Oh, I'm married. Because of it. Otherwise, I'd be faux married, F-A-U-X married. And I talk about that on my show all the time. I mean, my show is basically, for those out there who don't listen, who haven't listened, it's an LGBTQ+ / progressive radio show. We try to uplift those two communities because I think they, right, Laura, they walk hand in hand.
They walk hand in hand.
You can't be one without the other. Can't have one without the other. Yeah.
I like that. Yes. Yeah, and if I say Giordano Bruno right here, I mean, but so we actually have three things in common that I thought of. Okay, we have the Senate District 52. We're both hosts of AM 950 radio shows, and we both have spouses who love to garden and are way into the food system.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your yard.
Big time. Oh my goodness. I can't even think of what we have. We have so many things growing in there right now. The one thing that we do have a lot of is raspberries.
Mm-hmm. They take over.
They take over.
But they're cool. I mean,
Oh my God! I have picking parties. Sometimes my friends just come because I have so many. There's no possible way to, pick all of them. So I have friends come over and they bring their little baskets and they pick them. And you know what I've discovered, folks out there? If you put them in raspberries in the freezer and then take them out, they preserve. Put them on a flat surface.
Oh, yeah.
And you can put them in your cereal. They last for a really long time that way. And you can even eat them as like it's like a candy.
You know, I've been freezing raspberries for now I've got to date myself for well over 30 years probably because we just always had them. And yes, you can put them in a tray if you want them to look neat, or you can just put them in a container right away. Make sure you don't get any bugs in there, so you get those little white things sometimes with them. But one of the fun recipes that I took that I discovered is I just dumped out this frozen raspberries, diced up a banana, and put in some other berries and a little bit of honey on top, mixed it up, and it made a really good, simple fruit salad. And it was good enough to take to my family for Christmas. So there it was, raspberries from the garden that I just threw in the freezer and then mixed it up with a banana, a little bit of honey, and it was great.
Yeah, and we do it similar to what you do, but we add yogurt, plain yogurt, and raspberries and honey, and put them in a blender, and you have a little, like a smoothie.
Well, and each one has their own. But the one thing I love is living yards. And, I remember having this experience once where I think I was garage selling or something, and I drove to this neighborhood, and maybe some of these neighbors thought they had the best yards ever because it was like there was not a dandelion. It was just really chemicalized. And it made me shiver. It made me shiver. Because that's like lifeless. I mean, it's So
well, I could now that I'm going to go off on a tangerine a little bit here.
Go for it.
So when you talked about dandelions, my husband got a recipe for the flowers, dandelion flowers. We don't use any chemicals in our yard, obviously. We cut the flowers off, and there's a breading. That you dip them in, and then you can fry them. Oh, my God, they are so good.
Fried dandelion?
Fried dandelion
no
flowers.
Way. Fried dandelions.
I mean it.
Oh, my God, we got to have a fried dandelion
party.
You
got to try it. He'll give you the recipe. I wish I had it. See, I'm going off on a tangerine.
That's great. That's great.
You can contact me at Downright Upright Show at gmail.com if you want the recipe. But it's amazing, though.
Oh, that does sound fun.
Yeah.
I made something last night because I was like, I knew I was going to do the show with you this morning. And we have water leaf, which has been spreading crazy through the yard. It's a native. It was an indigenous food used for a long time. It's one of the first greens. And it just popped up in the yard by itself. I have tons of it, just tons of it growing. And it grows really well under the raspberries. So,
oh, yeah?
It just grows all over the place. And if you want some plants, I can give you some because they're great for, it's also a good shade plant. So,
what do you do with it? Can you eat it?
Here's what I did yesterday, which I was surprised how good it was. I just, I put some ginger in a pan and with the oil, nice little small, and I lit that on the stove for like 1 or 2 minutes, and then I added garlic to that. I washed my water leaf along with some garlic chives that are grown in the yard, and then I just threw them in there and I sauteed them. So it's just like a basic greens, and there's so many ways to do this. But it was a basic greens, but it was delicious, and I think at this time of the year, because they've just taken off so much, I could do that almost every single day. So this is, but I'm going to just say, the average American homeowner applies like 70 million to 90 million pounds of pesticides in the yard, and that's 10 times more pesticides than used per acre than agricultural land. And we use 800. We use a lot of gallons of gas each year for our lawn and garden maintenance. So there's a lot of things that we're doing with our yards that I mean, to each its own. I mean, I really don't want to judge. Everyone has their own situation. I want to, I just want to lift up. But for me personally, I like lazy yards, and I actually think planting and letting nature do its business and working, it brings me joy, and it brings me maybe most of all calm.
Yeah, a healthy garden is the only way to go. It really is. I mean, we grow. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called walking onions.
Oh, I have walking onions that have been in the family for 30 years. I love them.
Aren't they? They are
they
so
are
ubiquitous.
amazing.
Folks out there, if you really don't want to ever buy an onion, plant some, because they grow. They're another plant that grows like hardy.
And the nice thing about walking onions is this time of the year when there's, I mean, it's like
it
March.
grows
No,
the
it's
snow.
April. It grows through the snow. Yeah, it grows. It comes up early, and it adds such a little touch. All you can do is you can take the top leaves, and the plant will grow more. But you take it and you put it with your scrambled eggs or anything, and it's almost like a chives on top of it. It's great. But then as it goes on, it has those beautiful little small onions that are amazing tasting.
They grow. You can eat the root.
Right. I've never tried
the flower, the green part, everything.
Yeah.
You could. It's just an amazing thing. We do. We cut them, the green part, and we put them on our baked potato with some sour cream. They're so yummy.
Oh, I think we're getting people hungry. So, let's just talk a little bit more about what happened at the Senate district, because I really also did appreciate Amy Klobuchar, and Amy was there and. Like, I was surprised. She got just a touch emotional, not too much. But she was talking about her job as a U.S. Senator, and she said, I love this job. And her voice broke. And she talked about visiting all 87 Minnesota counties for a long time. And we know her father was there. I mean, she is the senator next door, which I think is the title of her book.
Yeah, and the thing she said that hit me, that I remember, and I'm sure you do too, is she said, the reason I'm leaving the Senate, leaving Washington, D.C., is because I love my state more. Mm-hmm. I love Minnesota so much, and that was authentic. She really meant that. I mean, because you could see it. I think that's when she got emotional. She loved Minnesota more, because she saw what we went through. And she said, it's my turn now to because Governor Walz is leaving, and she thought she would be the best person to step in. And I think she would be,
And that authenticity, and this is, I think, the other reason why I think this is the other reason I thought about inviting you on the air, because I honestly think it's one of the hardest things to do is to be authentic. And I think that's one of the reasons why the far right has risen, is because it's hard to be authentic. I mean, are we really saying what's living in us, and how to do that in a heart space it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Authenticity is so important to me. I mean, I'm authentic.
You are.
When I started my show, I came out like thunder, because I said, you know what, if we have to go back in the closet again, Laura, it's going to be, people will be despondent. They won't be alive and free. And I thought this show would be a way to uplift. I really love the responses. You do a great job, Philip. Thank you for what you're doing. People come on and I had a politician, I don't want to name the name because then, I'll be promoting them, but although I love this person, who was on my show and said, I just want to talk about you. For their last, because at the end of the show, I do a 3-minute thing where it's like open forum. You could, and the politician could talk about whatever they want. And he said, I want to talk about you, how authentic you are, and how wonderful you are. I mean, he just made me feel great. And I think,
can you imagine a social media that talks this way? And I mean, imagine how the AI would be different right now. And what if we had a social media that was just lifting up each other?
Yes. I just wish we could go to that.
I do too, but maybe we're the ones we have to move it there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our song. We're going to have to take a break.
Oh, yes.
We're going to take a break. You're listening to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund. I'm talking with my fellow AM 950 radio host, Philip Anthony. Also, we're both fellow members of District 52, and also we have spouses that do a lot of gardening. So we'll be right back.
Do-do-wop, chew-wop, chew-wop, do. Do-do-wop. chew up, chew up. Ooh. Chew up, chew up, chew up.
Well, send them your heart so they know that someone cares and their lives will be stronger and free.
As God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world. We are the children.
We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
We are the ones. We're the ones we're waiting for. We are the ones. We are the world. We are the children. And at a time when the U.S. government is spending 5 times as much money bombing and destroying the world and killing tens of thousands of people and causing hundreds of billions of dollars of damage and creating a global food crisis, we are the world.
Yes, we are. And, I love shows that have bumper music that's inspirational like yours does. On my show, I always, and Brett can verify this, the last segment of every show I start it with, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. And I remember as a kid, Laura, hearing that and crying. Here I am, a 7-8-year-old kid, listening to those words that inspired me and said, God, if we could just do that.
And I think that's what we're supposed to do. I mean, I honestly believe on some level humans are hardwired for wholeness. So how does that, Brett, I may ask you to run and get this music so it can be a little bit behind us just so we can do this. But, I mean, are you familiar with this We Are the World and what that story was with this? It was actually one of the, I guess, the 8th most popular song.
It was USA for Africa, I want to say,
right? It was done in the famine in Ethiopia, which was one of the most severe humanitarian disasters of the 20th century. It affected almost 8 million people and resulted in an estimated 300,000 to 1.2 million deaths. So it was triggered by drought and civil war. And so these musicians got together and they sang this beautiful song and raised lots of money. But the thing I really do love about the song is that spirit of it. And so that this is this heart-centered. And I think, kind of tying it, we get so many messages in our society and our society that, humans are jerks. So, I mean, we have so many stories running.
I'm not going to debate that with you. I agree in a way.
Well, I know. I mean, we have our issues, but I actually think at our core, we are fantabulous. Am I saying that word right?
Yes, fantastic and fabulous put together twice is nice, and it saves time.
Okay, so let's go slower on fantastic and
fabulous, put together, twice as nice, and then my co-host will chime in and say, and it saves time. Yes.
Okay, so I want to throw out some of or just put out some facts about what's going on in the global food situation, because it is hard, but I think in some ways we're going to do this. So the Trump administration cut 85% of the USAID food program, the Food for Peace program. And that program has been credited with a 15% reduction in death rates. The U.S. was contributing about 40% of this global humanitarian funding, which has collapsed. And right now in Nigeria, 5.6 million children's food for 5.6 million children has been cut. 80% of the emergency food kitchens in Sudan has been cut. A Lancet study project so that if the cuts continue, 14 million additional deaths could occur by 2030. 700,000 extra children death. I mean, how do you even decide that? And I don't know. When I gave birth to my daughter, for whatever reason, I was obsessed with what if I couldn't feed her. I mean, I can't imagine anything harder for a parent than to see their child suffer. And we don't have to have this world.
No. I mean, humanity is suffering right now because we are starting a war. Now, remember, I'm going to digress a little here.
Sure, go
remember,
for it.
we were talking about Ukraine and that Russia was the aggressor, went over the border of Ukraine and started, taking territory away because they, quote unquote, say it belongs to them, Well, we're doing basically the same thing. I mean, we're going to Iran who didn't provoke us yet. I mean, if they did, then we have every right. If like what happened in World War II. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, right? We went into the war because we were attacked. Was there an attack that I missed that we was undertaking in the United States? I don't know. So that's my point. I mean, that's why there's so many wars, because they're unprovoked wars. People just want land, or they want resources, or they want – and the commonality, Laura, is when you look at Venezuela and you look at the war – because we attacked Venezuela and we attacked Iran. What do those two countries have?
Oil.
Asking for a friend. And yes, oil. So no more wars for oil, people. We need to stop. There's little children that need to start their life, and it's so sad to see what's happening. So
it's so sad, and I think trying to get to some of those core issues of to why we keep causing this, and I think it's. I think it's complicated, but I think it's because we have a money-first global system instead of a health and well-being global system, and I think that's the result of how we are with each other, too. And I'm going to throw it in here. I was going to talk about this later, but I've got a little bit of exciting news to share. I found out yesterday.
I know.
So I know. I'm going to be participating at the Conscious Food System Alliance. I'm going to be in a leadership program with them, and it's associated with the UN.
Wow, congratulations, Laura.
And
I couldn't think of a better person for that.
Well, I actually think the Minnesota Vibes really helped with this, but it is. I mean, this stuff is really complicated, and I want to. But one of the things that I've been saying, my little mantra is, of course, it's complicated. Life's complicated. I take a bite of food. I mean, my gut are doing all these complicated things, and as silly human animals, we don't want to deal with complications. There's all sorts of stuff. It's hard for us, but I'm really excited to do that because I think that we need, and it lives in this song, "We Are the World." We need heart-centered economics.
Yes, we do, and I have to say this, and I'm sure you agree. AM 950 is doing the do, as we say in New York, right? Because all the shows uplift communities of some type. You have Robert Pilot with Native Roots Radio talking about Native issues or human issues. They are.
Uh-huh.
And I am not Native, but I would do anything to uplift that community. Anything I could. If he asked me tomorrow to do something, I would do it. The same thing with my community, the LGBTQ plus community. We just want to live our lives. We don't want to be better than you. We don't want, they put it. The thing I hear all the time is they have to put it in our face. Well, if I have a husband, it's in your face. I mean, what am I going to put a bag over his head, and walk down the street? I mean, you see what I'm saying? So we have to be much more empathetic.
And when I let you be free to be you, I get to be free to be me, which was also sung by Maria Marlowe. Yeah, there we go.
That's the day. That's the quote of the day.
Yeah.
You're free to be you if you can let me be free too.
I'll let you be free.
Yes, we're both free now.
Yay! I hope. Okay,
Yes.
so now I got the dark side. I'm going to have to. I have these facts I want to get out.
That was pretty positive.
It was very positive, and I do believe that I believe life is precious. Absolutely, and every life is precious.
Everyone deserves to live a full life,
and one deserves a full life, and trying to lift that up is so critical.
Yes.
And so then, and I think if we can do that with each other, then
100%.
Then we build up different things. So, but I did want to talk about right now the really strong headwinds going on in the global food system, because it's really hard to get our heads around this. So, 1/3 of the world's fertilizer comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. And there's this economist, his name is Steve Keen, Keen, and he's issuing warnings that we may be facing another potential major global famine. But one of the things he said...
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he did. And I mean, in honesty, right now, a lot of people, this is not news, unfortunately. So I didn't know this fact, but there were no, it's in a different spot, but more people are experiencing food insecurity today than they were. It's doubled than even a year ago.
Since ICE too in the Twin Cities, how many businesses had to close down? So now you have food deserts in the Twin Cities, Laura. It's insane.
It is insane, and but so the food system. right now, the world, without fertilizers, we could only feed 2 billion people, is what Steve Keen says. So if we don't have any fertilizers, we could only feed 2 billion people, and there's 8 billion people on the planet. So I mean this fertilizer crisis, who knows where it's going to end up. But the other thing that Steve King says is that in some ways we are also eating oil with that fertilizer. It's not really sustainable. I know the food looks green, but it actually comes from the brown, and this is again very, very complicated. But if we can ground ourselves on the health of the soil, the biological health of the soil, so what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves, and in our yard, when we're growing food, we have a living soil.
Yes.
That's cool. So, I mean, have you ever heard of, do you remember the Green Revolution and Minnesota's role in it?
No, I was living in New York because I've only been here since 2001. I want to say.
Well, and you asked me earlier offline, when was this? I'm kind of confused now. But there's a building at the University of Minnesota named Borlaug, and I've read several books on Borlaug. And Borlaug is credited with saving 1 billion people from starvation over the time. I mean, it really is amazing with all this technological stuff. And that was at the University of Minnesota that kind of started this green revolution. Yet also, there's also been a lot of consequences for that technical approach to food systems. So the soil health, we're losing soil 10 times faster than replacement. Some say that we have only 60 harvests left. The global system is dependent on chemicals and the pesticides, and 90% of bee pollen samples in agricultural areas contain pesticides. U.S. farmers live in in cancer areas. So the whole world needs better systems. We need an update. And the University of Minnesota is, again, they've been working at it. So the new person who has that Borlaug seat is the Forever Green Initiative, and we've done a lot of stories on that. So have you ever heard of Kernza and perennial agriculture? Okay. So
you're educating me.
I know,
today.
I'm trying to, and I'm just trying to get it out of my. But permaculture has such. Well, I'm still use the word permaculture. I meant to say perennial agriculture, and we had a show on it a couple weeks ago about living roots in a new book on perennial agriculture. So, Kernza is a grain, you plant it, and it stays for several years. And so when you have perennial agriculture, which is what fruit trees are and berries are and hazelnuts trees and chestnut trees, that really helps the soil because it's more alive. So all that stuff underground, and maybe I'll go with Giordano Bruno here sometimes, but it's a brew, and then it's also a carbon sink. It's just a beautiful thing. And so we need to have our food systems aligned with the world.
Yeah, we also have to talk about clean water, too, right?
Exactly.
Because, there's, remember Armourer's Law, the DFL passed that law because this young girl died because of PFAS in the water.
Right.
So Minnesota passed a law. It's illegal to have PFAS in the water. We have to stop that to clean our environment. So there's the mining is causing that. Oh. The oil, like you said, clean air. I mean, these all go hand in hand to the food, right?
Right. They all go hand in hand. We're going to take a break shortly, but yeah, the last week's show was on nitrates in our water, which is a direct result of the agricultural system we have. But to try to really get to what's the core of this is that we have, and people sometimes we're using the phrase American first. We have dollar first or money first economics. Let's have heart first and health first and well-being first and joy first economics. How does that sound? Does that sound too like liberally or something, or does that just sound like common sense?
Common sense.
Common sense, yeah. We're going to take a break. I'm talking with Philip Anthony. He also hosts a show on AM 950, the Downright Upright Show, which airs on Saturdays from 5 to 6. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
There's a choice we're making. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Welcome back to Food Freedom Radio. I'm Laura Hedlund, a nature-led gardener and a person seeking heart-centered economics. And with me is Philip Anthony, another co-host of AM 950 show, Downright Upright. And now we played your theme song.
Oh, my God. That was so beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful?
Doesn't it just inspire you to hear, like, how just people come together and try to love one another? Because, I had a guest on the show back in the day and talked about Kindness Travels. She was a dear friend of mine. She wrote a book called Kindness Travels. And she says you do one good deed for someone, like maybe carry their packages to the car, an old lady or whatever, and that person, you just lifted them up. So now they're going to want to do something good. It's like a chain reaction.
And I think
I love that.
I love it, too. And I think it's so important right now, and I'm going to, one time you said I shouldn't say Giordano Bruno's name, but I'm going to say Giordano Bruno because that's kind of my grounding. But one thing he said is that you can bind people by getting them angry at each other, but the remedy for that is to love.
Yes. And, and I have to say this, Laura, because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. We have a leader of our country right now who is trying very desperately to divide. I mean, if you don't believe that, listen to what he says. Oh, these people here are blah, 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 blah. The Democrats are da-da-da-da-da-da. And the African-Americans are da-da. I can't stand next to a woman because she's, African-American. Or, it's just the whole litany of BS. I mean, that's affecting people, Laura. If you have a president who loves people, I love all my American constituents, that would be an amazing thing to hear. We don't have that now.
We don't have that. But the one thing that, and I had someone else explain it to me, so let's see if I can. So what Trump does is classic 101. You divide and conquer. You keep them in yourself. But I love you. I'm your here. And then how that motivates people. And then they feel secure in that. So to try to, believing that we are hardwired, and how do I interact with somebody who is a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like I'm sure when you were in school, when you were going to school, you remember the schoolyard bully, right?
Right.
He would go, that kid over there is da 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 da, right?
Right.
Whatever the case may be. He's too overweight or whatever the case may be. He's this, that, the other thing. He has pimples on his face, whatever and that bonding. See, he likes me and he's lifting me up. So I can attack that person too, rather than say, you know what, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. He's got feelings. He's a person.
And
stop
when I
othering
diminish him, I diminish myself.
Yes.
And that's that. That we are the world. When I diminish you, I diminish myself. Mm-hmm. How we kind of lift up that together. And I
love that message.
I do too. And I'm going to just quickly mention this because I want to get this out. But when it comes to the food system, we've had so much. Trump has disrupted it in so many ways. And there was so much positive action. So one of the stuff that Trump did is he took $1 billion out of the farms to school and for local food banks to buy from local farms. And this stuff gets complicated. I don't know. But I don't know what the ultimate intention of all this is. I think there are a few people that want to dominate and control. And they're hardwired for domination and control, and they have no compassion, no empathy. And I don't want to give them any power. I don't want them to have power. I know. I'm kind of got my scary voice here, but I think I know it's kind of. But I think it's really time that we wake up to our power. And one of the most powerful things we can do is with our dollars. So I have a really simple way I think about this. I see this continuum: Mordor on one side, which is Lord of the Rings, or the Shire on the other side. So am I spending this dollar on the Shire, or am I spending this dollar on Mordor? And so how do we lift up that living economy, that heart-centered economy, and believing that is possible?
Well, our leader, our fearless leader, eats McDonald's every day. I mean, processed foods, doesn't really think about health in any way, So isn't that...
I'm going to actually disagree with you on one little thing, and I don't know if I'm right about this, but I don't think he's a fearless leader. I think he's a very fearful leader. I think at the core.
I'm
I
using
know.
the term.
I know you're using the term. I didn't mean to be...
I agree, yeah. You're right. I probably should have never said that. But at the same time, he has a influence on people.
He does.
When you see, the president's eating, processed food every day. Wow. Maybe I could eat that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know, and I mean that is the
not a
other
good
thing.
example.
Well, actually, it's a great example, and I'm going to now bring this comment because we want to talk. We both had Austin Frederick, with the author of the book Barons,
Yes,
on.
hi, Austin.
And so, but the whole food system again is not centered on health and well-being. I mean, that's sort of the vision I want to lift up. Is how do we lift up a food system that's good for the planet, that's good for our human bodies, that's fair and just, that's good for water, that creates healthy soil, vibrant communities.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Because I think this is going to piggyback on what you just said. Did you ever, do you think we ever had a president who cared about the food system in our history? Isn't that a good question? Because I'm trying to think of one that really.
I'm going to go with Jimmy Carter because he was a peanut farmer, and I think he was connected to the land. And I think it was interesting how he got smashed down from a PR viewpoint, which is something that that I think we have to develop an immunity towards, if this makes any sense. But because I think Jimmy Carter was a beautiful president, and think he put solar panels on the White House in the late '70s.
That's
and his work afterwards, and I think that there's this is kind of a jump, but let's see if I can do it. One of the books I found was Walter Rink's The Powers That Be. And there are powers that be that want to dominate. And I think that's just that there's some of that scares me, those powers that be. But I just think just as Minnesota faced those powers that be during the ice crisis, and we sort of stood up for each other with that heart-centered economics, that heart-centered being, whatever we want to label it, but we stood up and we were neighborly. Like Rogers, right? Who am I thinking of?
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, of course.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Should we sing that?
Yes.
Anyhow, I threw a lot out there.
I agree 100%. Jimmy Carter had one of the most prestigious post-presidencies, or the most influential. I mean, he was working for Habitat for the Humanities. He was building houses for poor people in South America and all over the world. You're right about the peanut farming. He was very conscious about soil and farming. And he cared about people in a way that he got Sadat and Begin together, the biggest enemies in the Middle East. He got them to sit down and make peace. And that's why Egypt and Israel to this day are not fighting and killing each other. So maybe you're right. That's a good point.
And talk about, with the hostage crisis, the Iran hostage crisis in 1979, there is strong evidence, and I think it's known now. I should probably confirm it because I don't know.
I think I know what you're going to say, and you're right.
Okay, tell me what I was going to say.
I think I know. Well, they're saying that Ronald Reagan was not the reason why it's the hostage crisis ended. It was really Jimmy Carter. They just waited till after he was inaugurated.
Right. So they kept the American hostages longer so they have more power.
That's exactly right.
So is that Mordor or is that the Shire? That's Mordor.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the way that people gain power and resources. And so we've got 5 minutes left, and so
okay.
I know, but I'm gonna how do we lift up something that's better? And I think truth telling is part of that, and that's what we both do, and that's what Austin Fredericks did in his book Barons. So we can just chit chat about that a little bit, because the one thing I remember from the show I did with Austin is that 100 years ago we had a far more diverse economics here in Minnesota, and so Iowa was actually selling gooseberries, but what's happened in the food system is concentration of wealth. So a few people gained all the resources, and that's Mordor in my mind. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's money oriented rather than wellness, food, environment. But the funny thing was, I was talking. The one thing I could remember was he was talking about the robber barons in those days, and how it's happening now again in our current society. Like, for example, Driscoll with the berries. They control all the berries. I mean, unless you grow your own like we do,
Yeah.
you're going to have to purchase them from them. And
Right.
that's where they make their money. No, there's no competition, basically, is what I'm saying. So.
And then they don't let people compete with them
oh,
because
no.
they can
They'll
do things
buy
in
you
such
out.
a
Yeah, or
ways.
do something. Yeah.
So I want to go with I want to kind of end on an uplifting note.
Oh,
Have you
please.
heard of the oat mafia?
Who?
The oat mafia?
No.
Okay, so these farmers. So oats was something that conventional farmers can grow. It uses less fertilizer, so it's better for the environment. And these group that nicknamed themselves the Oat Mafia, they actually built a facility. I think it's Albert Lee, Green Acres Milling, that's owned by the farmers. So they're producing oats again, and and now of course people are drinking more oat milk, and oats are really good for us.
Yes.
They're good for a lot of ways. But we were buying all of our oats from Canada, and now having that local oat economy. So having this local economy, visiting your farmers, knowing each other, it lifts up a whole different system.
Yeah, we have to back us, family farmers. We're not
Right.
doing that anymore.
We're not, and they're really suffering right now. And
Oh,
there's a
my
lot of
goodness.
problems. We're talking about the global stuff.
We need a whole show for that alone, because
Yes.
that is insane. These poor people, they work so hard on their farms, and they're struggling now.
There really
because-
are. And I remember one farmer telling me, it's always comes down to me for the soccer thing. Can you afford your kids' soccer lessons? Can you afford to have your kids' school pictures? And I mean, it's crazy that most farmers also do off-farm income. I mean, what do we need as animals? Now, like if we had a heart-centered economy, we would need, we need enrichments. We need good, fun things to do. We need food and housing. But, if we can just rebalance, and when you have like a handful of the 0.0001 just controlling all the resources instead of flowing, Jesse Jackson said it this way: you don't want all the manure in one spot. Manure is best when it's spread around, and that's what
He said that? I
he
love
said that. So this is where it's like,
that.
okay, so how do we have an economy that works for all? Buying local is so important.
I just want to say, because I think we're almost
Yeah, we're done. Almost 2
ready
minutes.
to be done, that you are amazing.
Oh,
What
thank
you're
you.
doing, ladies and gentlemen, she is trying to promote health. She's trying to promote good food, good water, good air. This show is so important, and I want to thank you personally for what you're doing, because I do my show for my community. You're doing your show for everybody's health and for everybody's well-being. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I actually really want to lift up an integral worldview, which I kind of left one thing dangling, and this helped me bring it to. So Walter Wink, so his personal story is that one of his close friends, he was a theologian, was a nun who was brutally murdered in the 70s, 80s, something like that. So he had to deal with all that rage. And I think I was glad I found this book, because I was reading about his own rage with just the injustice in the world, and he was, how would Jesus respond? And what he came up with was beautiful, and it was the depth to his work. Then went to South Africa and the fight against apartheid there, but it's finding those deep living roots that live in our system and live in each other, and how we honor our ancestors and the people who come after us, and how we try to build something better.
I think our mission is to have you not have a rage voice anymore.
Right. Well, or be. I like to live that way, but I also think, like, when Jesus threw over the temple, the
Yeah.
chairs at the temple. I know that I'm passive by nature. Any horse
You're a
could go.
sweetheart.
I'm a very passive person.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that's rage worthy,
Yes, unfortunately.
unfortunately, and the solution is truth telling and love.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do. Philip Anthony, Downright Upright, airs 5 to 6. Thank you for listening. Integrity, truth, and abundance for all now.